Good evening to those bored enough to watch. In a previous video, I discussed RPGs and why I think that though they're not for me, I do have a lot of fond memories with that genre of games. Another genre of games I've never really talked about much is that of puzzle games, and that's because I never really played much of them. I think that they're interesting, and I think that at times they can be great experiences. In my time, I've only really played a handful of games within this genre, though I have played a multitude of other games in other genres with interesting puzzle segments. I think that puzzle games are difficult to understand fully, though I do acknowledge that they never really have been for me. I've always wanted to understand them more, things such as why people find them so enjoyable among many other things, and I hope that through this video, you and I can both go on that journey together. Captivating but perplexing is how I generally refer to puzzle games, and in this video, I want to talk about that. So, with that said, let's discuss why puzzle games are perplexing. In the sphere of gaming, puzzle games have always been present, as they are ones that actively require the player to strategize and take the time to cognitively think out a situation and how to solve it, whereas other games of differing genres tend to focus more on aspects such as that of action or adventure, leaving very little room for thinking about how to solve a puzzle, as oftentimes you're never really given the time to, though games such as that of Figment tend to separate the action from the puzzles, in which I do think that Figment is a really good example of how to properly balance out a puzzle section with more action-oriented ones. For those who don't know, Figment is a puzzle, action, and adventure game, in which on the surface one may consider it to be one that may not properly balance out all of these sections, but it really does quite nicely. Even to this day, I remember a lot of the puzzles within the game. For example, with the Train of Thought, we needed to play through continuous levels which guided it through the map and onto the next level. It was genuinely an interesting experience to play through, because it was one that actively engaged me with the game and encouraged me to think about how to actively solve the problem, utilizing the game's mechanics and exploring the levels in order to find items and objects you can interact with, all to ultimately bring me closer to getting through to the end of that level and moving on to the next. Figment in particular really did manage to capture my interest throughout, as it rewarded you for getting through these sections of the game with action and the prospect of moving forth with the adventure at hand. Though true that I didn't exactly buy the game for the puzzles, I stayed for them, because they still managed to encourage me to think about the puzzles and how to solve them, all without holding my hand too much or being too vague with what to do, leaving room for thought while also giving me enough hints to keep following through with the puzzles without getting utterly lost. Figment is one of the many examples of a game that heavily revolves around puzzles that managed to keep me engaged, both because of the prospect of the action and adventure, and because they were genuinely well designed puzzles. Still, I'm left to wonder, what is it with puzzle games that are so captivating? While it is true that I like the puzzles in games such as Figment, I don't exactly remember the game for its puzzles. I remember it for the action and the story that it told. I find that when I do reflect back on the puzzles, I find that there were really well polished aspects of the game, however, they're not the first thing that come to my mind when I think of the game. This is what leads me to mention that puzzle games are captivating as they encourage me to think about how to solve a problem, but they're also perplexing, as at times these puzzle sections are the least memorable parts for me. I suppose that this discussion is different depending on the person you ask, but for me, puzzle games are amazing experiences when combined with other genres of gameplay, such as action, adventure, or many other genres that captivate my interest. Even games such as Back to Bed with genuinely amazing and well-designed puzzles, ones that with each level I find myself more invested in understanding the game's mechanics, I was still interested in remaining with the game because of the art style and the story that the game told, regardless of how simple it may have been in hindsight. Another example I want to use is that of the Uncharted games, once that sectioned its gameplay into different parts, traversing through areas, solving puzzles, and fighting through action-packed sections of the game, all packaged into a single experience. I enjoyed the puzzle sections and how they encouraged me to think about how to solve the puzzles, giving hints if I was lost, the environments giving intricately hidden and well thought out hints if I needed to use them. For example, Uncharted 3 has a section of the game where you need to use the surrounding map to move pieces of a given image on a wall to the correct designated places, in which if you needed, you could also use Drake's notebook to aid you. Of course, I have my own critiques with the puzzle sections of the Uncharted games that I won't discuss in this video, but they were really well thought out sections of the game and I felt really encouraged to think about how to solve them, giving plenty of hints and guidance if you ever needed it. But once again, these sections of the game aren't ones that I instantly think of when I think about Uncharted. I think about the action sections and the story that these games told. If you enjoy puzzle games, then I respect that. I do acknowledge that they're not for me, and I encourage you to talk about them, but for me, puzzle games are captivating, thought-provoking, and most of all, perplexing. So, there's the video. I hope you all enjoyed it. This was definitely quite a difficult video to record, lots of tricky sentences and whatnot, but here we are and I hope you all enjoyed it. If you want to see the list of games I want to make videos about, then you can always do so through the link in the description. Additionally, if you want to follow me, then my socials will be linked in the description, as well as any afterthoughts or messages I may want to add. With that, I haven't really got much else I want to say, so I'll see you all in my next video. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I wish you all a very pleasant evening.